Yesterday was a very scary day for, I'd say, 99% of people investing in crypto and including the stock market as well. But I have a glimmer of hope for those bulls who have stayed bullish even through this. You're gonna want to hear the end of this video because it's going to definitely spark even more bullishness in you. Okay, but first we have this is from Egon von Geires. Global debt increased 75-fold 75-fold, guys, from 1971 to 2021. Today, it stands at approximately $360 trillion. Okay, this is global debt. Do you think this number is going to go down? No, this number is going to go up exponentially, just like it has been since 1971, since Nixon took the US off the gold standard. Oh my gosh, there's going to be so much printing, you won't even believe what is happening. And I think there's like an end goal to this, pretty much the destruction of fiat currencies, at least fiat currencies as we know it. There'll be what you call a stable coin in the guise of a CBDC. Okay, so that's another story. Let's check out Elon Musk's brother says tariffs are a permanent tax on American consumers. I absolutely agree with him. I've been saying this for a long time. I don't trust any president. Keep in mind, any president I don't trust. So if Biden, Trump, Clinton, I don't care who it is, says something, one thing, I don't trust them at all. I just think they're puppets of the Federal Reserve, which is who your real enemy is. And there's a reason why the Federal Reserve isn't being touched by any great president, okay? This is never going to end, okay? Especially in our lifetimes, and that is why we push crypto so much on people, because it's a limited supply, it's global, it's permissionless. You know, Bitcoin Monero is also, you can obfuscate yourself as well, which is great, and you can hold your own keys. So beautiful. This is something that central banks hate, presidents hate, and everything happening on public blockchains are publicly verifiable. Governments hate that stuff. Okay, let's move on to more tariffs. EU proposes a 25% counter tariffs on US imports. So it's this like tit for tat thing. This is children, grown children playing games with each other, okay? Now, if you think, well, the US needs to, raise tariffs because, everybody else is bullying the United States, this is really what I hear. It's ridiculous. So this is a very uneducated statement, because when people say that the US needs to stand up for themselves, you got to read books, okay? There's plenty of books out there. One of the greatest books that I've read on how much the US bullies other countries is Confessions of an Economic Hitman. All right, if you really want to, if you want to dive deeper into understanding the ins and outs of how the US bullies other countries, definitely check out that book. They absolutely obliterate competition outside. And there's a reason also why the US military exists. It's not because of, a boogeyman or whatever. It's because the US dominates for their global reserve currency. That's the only way that they can push their global reserve on the world. Okay, so moving on to one of the big club members that we aren't in. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon says tariffs will likely increase inflation and also the probability of a recession. Now, I mostly agree with the whole inflation thing. Inflation, it's a hidden tax, okay? And so when you have, these high tariffs, these companies that are getting hit with these high tariffs, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to raise prices, okay? Like, that's what they're going to be doing. American consumers, especially the middle class, it's the middle class that I'm actually most worried about. My family, my friends' families as well, a lot of middle class that I know, and they're going to get absolutely destroyed. Like, absolutely destroyed. I don't think this is very good for anybody, but obviously, the best hedge against inflation is Bitcoin, and there really is nothing better than that. Okay, moving on. We have stocks worldwide were down 10% today. So check this out. Circuit breakers were triggered worldwide. You may be thinking, what is a circuit breaker? Okay, so let me explain this to you. Imagine a bunch of little kids playing in a playground or whatever, and you have a high slide that kids are going down. Okay, so imagine, the kids aren't allowed to go down the entire slide because there's like a little cushion that they hit so that they don't go too fast down the slide. Okay, I know that sounds ridiculous or whatever, but this is what circuit breakers is. It stops the free market from actually coming up with a fair price. Okay, so in other words, imagine, a stock goes down 10%, then the poor babies that are the investors of the stock market were like, I can't handle that, this is too much for me. So the government comes in and steps in and says, hey, no more, let's halt stocks, whatever. So this is how childish stocks are compared to Bitcoin. There is nothing crypto, there's nothing stopping it. This is where the adult play, okay? Or I should say invest. Smart adults play over the long run, and they don't care about the short-term noise that is happening right now. Especially like yesterday, I couldn't care less what is happening, okay? This is just, it doesn't even matter. I'm never going to remember, like 2 weeks from now, I'm not even going to remember what has happened yesterday, okay? But some people will remember yesterday because there was $1.35 billion liquidated from the cryptocurrency market over the last 24 hours. This isn't the normal, responsible person investing in crypto. These are gamblers. There's no difference between a leverage gambler and these guys, okay? So, or I should say, there's no difference from a leverage gambler and those that go to play roulette or whatever at the casino. There really is no difference. I don't care, whatever. Who cares about these guys? But the less leverage in crypto, the better and more healthy the market's going to be. That's just how it always is. Okay, so let's move over to ETH Bitcoin. I did end up buying ETH yesterday, pretty much near the bottom of that dip, and we could dip more, which would be so fine for me. I would love that. I would love to see even more pain, because you know what? The lower sentiment is, the more bullish I get. You buy when there's blood in the streets. There's that saying out there. Okay, so ETH BTC hasn't seen levels like this since 2020, over 5 years. So yeah, this is why I'm buying ETH, guys. Like, I see a ton of projects building on ETH. I don't see ETH going anywhere, guys. Like, what are you going to rely on Solana? And keep in mind, Solana's been out since 2021. They've also shut down their network several times because they couldn't hold the load of transactions. You need Ethereum right now, guys. You can't just rely on other blockchains because they just haven't been tested as much as ETH yet. All right. Also, an interesting thing on Ethereum, since June 2023, this is from Rec Capital, Ethereum dominance has dropped from 20% to 8%. Historically, Ethereum dominance has reversed from this green area to become more market dominant. So check out this chart. Do you think history will repeat? Ethereum history will repeat? There's probably a good chance. So check that chart out. There you go. Okay, so the last time the market dropped 9.5% in 2 days, so consider this yesterday. The Fed unleashed a multi-trillion-dollar bailout of the economy, including a $500 billion in QE, $1 trillion daily repo, and tens of billions in junk bond ETF purchases. So what does that mean? It means they're going to print so much currency, it's going to obliterate the US dollar. Okay, that's essentially what it means. And you know what happens after that? A little bit after that, you're going to have stable coins, which will take place of the US dollar. I've been saying this for a while now. I got a lot of heat at the beginning when I started saying this, but now I think people are coming around. I think people are starting to understand that there's probably not going to be that CBDC. They're going to call it they're not going to call it CBDCs. They're going to call it stable coins. And that is why BlackRock owns Circle and Coinbase and USDC. BlackRock pretty much owns USDC, and a little bit of history on BlackRock, or a little knowledge that I don't think very many people have taught you, definitely didn't learn this in schools, is that BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street own about 22% of the shares at the private Federal Reserve. Bet you didn't know that. Anyways, like and subscribe. Check us down below at learningcrypto.com if you want to see our trade alerts, if you want to see our portfolio, and you want to know when we are selling too. That is really important. Also, what we've been buying. All right, talk to you soon.